Hey folks, David here, TexasHornsFans.com. So some really huge news came down a couple days ago that Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a bill into law allowing student athletes to make money off their name, image, and likeness, which really just kind of moves forward with the NCAA ruling that came down, basically saying the same thing, that current student athletes will now be able to earn some sort of compensation on their name, image, and likeness. So it's kind of being called the NCAA NIL, name, image, likeness rule or bill. So it's, I think, a much bigger deal than a lot of Texas fans are thinking. Just in terms of the brand and in terms of recruiting as well. Also, in the possibility of players hanging around college a little bit longer. So we'll get into that and get into some of the more important details of what this could mean and how it really could affect recruiting, coaching, and really just kind of player mindsets, both good and bad. Throughout the season, I'm 100% for this, allowing athletes to earn some income on their own, on their own name and image and likeness. I'm 100% against the school paying student athletes outside of their scholarships. But if they can go out and do this on their own time, leveraging their own name. Absolutely. I think this is going to be awesome. So we'll get into the video and look at a couple of articles that are written. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're listening on the podcast. Subscribe there as well, and definitely leave your comments below. Enjoy the video. All right, here's where I kind of wanted to start. This one was posted by 24/7 Sports on June 14th by Mike Roach. He really kind of focuses on how Texas can really leverage this by, really just kind of leveraging the giant brand power of the program. Just the Longhorns football program alone is a $1 billion program, and for years. Texas Longhorns overall, Texas Longhorns Sports has been the number one seller of collegiate license merchandise from the CLC, the Collegiate Licensing Company, and that covers all types of licensed, logoed, merchandise, apparel, things like that, memorabilia, stuff like that. But he kind of looks at it from there and makes a couple of really good points. Talking about after the bill passed to the Texas House and the Senate, signed by the governor, the legislation allows for athletes to allow them to hire an agent that represents their interests, but it requires those athletes to take a financial literacy workshop during college. The legislation does prohibit athletes from endorsing particular industries such as alcohol, tobacco, and several other products. A couple of important things to unpack there is, number one, allowing student athletes to hire agents, which essentially would act as marketing agents. And one of the reasons I'm so interested in this topic is because this is kind of my wheelhouse. I've been creating content, mostly written content for magazines and websites in the sports memorabilia and sports trading card space for about 20 years. So I'm pretty familiar with, league licensing, just kind of the marketing aspect of it. A lot of big name, professional athletes will have their sort of, main agent that handles their contract and stuff like that. And then they'll have, one or two marketing agents that handle appearances, autograph signings, signing for trading card deals and things like that. Also, Panini America, they are the official licensed trading card manufacturer of the NFL, NBA, and also the CLC. So all of the official licensed collegiate college trading card sets and autographs and things like that, they're the ones that produces the licensed trading cards, and they're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I've been kind of involved in that realm for a long time. So, moving all of that stuff and allowing current college athletes in that space is just going to be absolutely huge. And of course, football is absolutely going to be number one. Imagine Trevor Lawrence making autograph appearances, for the past 3 years, whether it be at sports card memorabilia shows, maybe he makes an appearance at a car dealership or something like that. But that's what this type of stuff is. Now, one big part of the rule that we'll look at here in a minute is that the athletes can't be directly tied to the university when they're doing these things. So it's not going to be Texas Longhorns running back Bijan Robinson. It'll just have to be Bijan Robinson, and maybe he's just wearing a burnt orange shirt without the Longhorn logo or something like that. But you see that all the time with professional athletes as well. If the business that they're promoting doesn't have the rights to show a Kansas City Chiefs logo or use that name, it'll just be Patrick Mahomes, right? Like with State Farm. He's not on there as Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs quarterback. He's just on there as Patrick Mahomes quarterback, the Patrick Price. So that's the type of stuff that you can kind of watch out for with this. But it's super interesting, especially with considering the Longhorns, because months ago they announced the leverage program. And I did a quick video on that when they announced it, because obviously they were kind of getting ahead of the curve, knowing what was coming. Essentially, the leverage program is going to help support the athletes by mainly in educational, the rule requires them to take like a financial sort of education. The leverage program is all part of that. So it's teaching them financial literacy. It's going to be a lot of marketing and branding. It's going to be a lot of like what to look out for, probably, how to tell a good deal from a bad deal, but also just helping build up the brand of the player. So while Texas can build up Bijan Robinson running back, Longhorns running back, Heisman candidate, all that type of stuff with social media assets, things like that, I really think that program is really going to help, especially the superstar guys, sort of bridge that gap between being an 18-year-old freshman who now all of a sudden can make money off of autograph appearances or by promoting a local business or a restaurant or something like that. That's going to be kind of a whirlwind, I think, in addition to just going to college, for a lot of these kids. So that's going to be a really interesting thing. But the Texas leverage program, that's what it's called, leverage. That's really going to help them do that. That's going to help them make that leap and sort of bridge that gap. And I think the core of the program is just to provide education, but also to help the individual athletes and also teaching them how to strengthen their brand. And really that just comes down to leveraging the existing Texas Longhorns sports brand, which is no question one of the biggest sports brands in the country. So I think that's going to be absolutely huge for recruiting for sure, being able to say, look, this is what we have in place for our student athletes to be able to leverage. And yes, I fully expect other schools to do, other top schools to do the same. I do think it's going to end up kind of being a case of the rich get richer, with the schools who are able to create a program like this. Just wanted to find another couple of and this goes into effect I think July 1, so just in a couple weeks from less than 2 weeks from recording this video. But it's going to be super interesting to see how what actually comes out of this, how the coaches handle it, if it puts extra pressure on the coaches. Imagine, obviously, you look at Texas, Bijan Robinson, Overshone, Josh Moore, Jordan Whittington, Casey Thompson, Hudson Card. Those are the guys that are really going to benefit from something like this. It's the same thing in the sports memorabilia and trading card business and hobby that I've been covering for 20 years. That it's the superstar guys, right? It's the flashy skill position guys that tend to be the most marketable and the most collectible and most valuable. So is that going to create a little bit of animosity if Bijan Robinson is getting all these opportunities and the offensive guards who block for Bijan Robinson aren't getting nearly the same amount of opportunities to leverage their name and image and likeness? Maybe, we'll see. And how do 18 and 19-year-olds handle something like that? Because a lot of these top recruits, they come into college and they've been famous from the time they were 16. That they've been top 10 recruits from 2 or 3 years in high school. Here's the announcement back in, let's see. Yeah, this was published at the end of August 2020, when all of this was coming out about the NCAA rule. So Texas Athletics to help student athletes leverage their platform. So that's what it's called, is the leverage program. Texas is the land of opportunity. Austin is thriving, dynamic, and energetic city in the middle of it, and the University of Texas is like none other. That's from CDC. All these factors, along with the national and worldwide power of the Longhorn brand, are among the many things that will make this key elements in our exciting new leverage program. The program is designed to prepare, enhance, and play a critical role in our student athletes developing and growing their personal brands. And again, this is all a direct response to the NCAA rule now allowing this. And then obviously here we are in mid-June with the state of Texas moving forward with allowing these players to capitalize on this. So from the players' perspective, that's the big benefit of the leverage program, is knowing that you're coming into something that is brand new. You're going to have a lot of vultures trying to get a piece of these players. You're going to have a lot of people trying to hit them up, probably talking to their parents as well, the families kind of getting involved in it, trying to get them to make autograph appearances. And I would guess that a lot of that would happen in the off season. I can't see a coach liking the idea that, that your star wide receiver is going to be making an appearance at the local car dealership, on his day off, and then has to get back into practice the next day. So that's going to be interesting. But overall, I think it's going to be pretty messy at first. I think you're going to see a lot of schools and players have some really cool ideas, but also run into a lot of roadblocks. A lot of issues. If I was a head coach, I could see how they may not like this. One thing, I'm actually going to be at the Big 12 Media Days in July, so I do plan on asking a lot of questions about from the coaches and the players that are there, what they think about this. Does it put any extra pressure on the coaches? What does that do in the recruiting cycle that Steve Sarkisian can talk about the leverage program. And of course, there may be some unique rules with recruiting when it comes to this type of thing, allowing the players to do this. So while the school and the sports program is going to certainly provide a platform to help them, they can't directly be involved. Because like I said, you can't have the athlete representing the school in one of these opportunities. It just has to be them alone. So it can be running back Bijan Robinson, just not directly associated with the University of Texas. which, to me, in my realm, that's going to be interesting to see how, you know, could we still see some trading cards come out of, some of these star college athletes without leveraging the CLC license? Maybe. If that's the case, the deal would have to be done directly from the trading card company and the athlete. So that it's just a different dynamic. It's going to be weird to see how this plays out. So here's a few of the interesting rules, and again, this goes into effect at the end of the summer, so it's here. All right. So going to be really interesting to see how this kind of plays out. Let's see the quick links here. What does name, image, likeness mean? This is pretty interesting. So basically, it's saying that you can the athletes will be able to take advantage of things like their autograph, right? So, and to me, that's probably going to be the earliest and most common thing that we're going to see. We're going to see these guys, being invited for the day to come to a local business. Hey, we're going to have Bijan Robinson here signing autographs for 2 hours or whatever. Come on down, have an enchilada or whatever, wherever it's at. They'll certainly make appearances at sports memorabilia shows, which, again, that's kind of in my realm. I've attended the Dallas Sports Card Show, I think, 7 times in the past year. They've had Ricky Williams, they've had Earl Campbell, they've had Billy Sims, Bob Lilly, a lot of great athletes. So you'll see a lot of that. Typically, the top NFL rookies, top drafted guys, will make a good $50 to $100 per autograph. So every time they sign. But some of the trading card companies, they'll still incorporate 7th round wide receivers. They're going to be getting a whole lot less per autograph. Unless they break out of the NFL and become a star, then they may charge a little more, and that's going to be up to the athlete. So that's going to be a big thing. Developing and or modeling athletic and non-athletic clothing apparel, that's going to be huge too. I also think that we might see a lot of these kind of independent, smaller athletic apparel companies leverage some of these guys. Some of these athletes develop their own apparel company, and that might be part of it too. A lot of these guys come in, they have a huge social media following already. They make their commitments on social media. That's where people hear about it a lot now. They're good at branding themselves, and that's important. So a lot of these guys are going to stand to make a lot of money just on that alone, just by leveraging their current following, outside of the school. And then promoting products and services, making personal appearances. So those are kind of the typically 4 kind of main things that we're probably going to see. Lessons, camps, and clinics. This gives an example, a good example. An LSU football player can host a summer camp for youth football athletes in which he receives some or all of the profits. But when using his name and image to promote the camp, the athlete cannot reference LSU or wear LSU gear. So, maybe he just wears purple and gold, right? But it just doesn't have the LSU logos. And in online or print materials promoting the event, it's just, Joe Burrow, LSU quarterback. But that's going to be pretty cool, to be able to do that. And this is why I've always advocated for players staying in college unless they are just completely, totally sure that leaving college for the NFL early is going to benefit them more so than leveraging their college career for the rest of their lives. Because a lot of these college brands are huge brands, and the income opportunity for the rest of your life can be there. Brian Arakpo and Michael Griffin opened up a cupcake shop in Bee Cave, just west of Austin. They didn't open up one in Tennessee or in Washington, where they've played. They came back to their college town, to open up their business. So I think there's going to be, obviously a lot more value for these student athletes to leverage that, and maybe to to hang around for their senior year, right? To keep doing this, to kind of plant deeper roots in their college community that they can come back and leverage for the rest of their life, for their family, to leverage for the rest of their life, especially, with whatever they, accomplish on the field as well. I mean, Colt McCoy can always walk around Texas and just be Colt McCoy. Jordan Shipley can do the same thing. Autographs, this is a big one, obviously, but they give cool examples. These sessions cannot occur during an institution event or competition. No school trademarked logos or apparel is used during the sale of the material. But an example of what they can do. A local organization can hire and pay a college baseball player to sign autographs during a youth baseball event. At the event, the athlete is not permitted to wear his college university apparel. So, obviously, I think that's going to be the number one thing that we see. Fundraising, crowdfunding, things like that. And a lot of these guys are savvy with online marketing and social media marketing, just being tied to brands and promoting brands and things like that. So, you're absolutely going to see Casey Thompson maybe partnering with some, online brand on Instagram and wearing their stuff and, doing a little ad or things like that. Let me see. In terms of restrictions, I did want to point out a couple of these that I looked at. Name, image, likeness compensation cannot be used as a form of payment for athletic participation. In other words, NIL opportunities should not be used as a recruiting tactic. So that's going to be a funny gray area there, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what NCAA rules are going to come down to sort of police this. Can the coaches talk about the Texas leverage program? I would think so. But can they say, hey, you come play here and you're likely going to earn, $400,000 over the course of your, career? Probably, you obviously can't project, how much somebody's going to earn. But that's going to be an interesting, I think, gray area in recruiting. Schools and conferences cannot play a role in their student athletes' NIL activities. Student athletes cannot profit from use of their NIL in institutions where they have no legal right to demand compensation. Again, it's basically saying that the student athlete doesn't own the rights to promote Texas Longhorns. They leverage their own name, image, and likeness disassociated with the school. The role of third parties in student athlete NIL activities is regulated. So basically, they just can't promote any product that they want. NIL rules cannot interfere with NCAA members' efforts in the areas of a diversity, inclusion, or gender equality. Okay, so basically, there's not a lot of restrictions there. I fully expect a lot of this to kind of be worked out over the next several years. EA Sports announced that they're bringing back the NCAA video game, which is going to be interesting. Can they use players' names? I don't know. Reading these rules, I would say no. The players can't be associated directly with the school and receive compensation for that product or whatever. So, I don't know. Based on what I'm reading, I would say no. So this is, I think another big point here before we wrap up. How will these rules apply to recruits? As a result of the changes to NIL rules, it's possible that the NCAA will enforce stricter recruiting rules to prevent college coaches from leveraging NIL compensation to influence recruits. While we do not know exactly what this looks like, the NCAA has made it clear that they're dedicated to maintaining a differentiation between college athletes and professional athletes. Sure. Called on Congress to take steps to allow the association to navigate the potential challenges. So basically, it's kind of saying that when it comes to, what can and can't be said during recruiting, what can and can't be leveraged, I think that's going to be kind of an ongoing issue to just figure out, which makes sense. It's new for everybody. It's new for the schools. It's new for the coaches, the current athletes, the recruits coming in. But there's no question that this is a massive, massive recruiting tool for the big brands. Not only for the local communities and the local, colleges. Austin, Texas is massive, and there's just people absolutely pouring into that area. Absolutely one of the fastest growing communities in the country. So that's a big factor. Just leveraging the massive, Longhorn brand as it exists now, even though this athletes can't leverage it directly or be associated with it directly, everybody's going to know who Bijan Robinson is, who Casey Thompson is, and Hudson Card and these guys, so just being able to do that is really a game changer. I think. Of course, it still comes down to what are you doing on the field, and then just the potential negative aspects of it. I think it is uncharted territory. I would think that it would put some extra pressure on the coaches, to be able to, now you gotta worry about, where's your guy making an appearance, who's he tied in with with a marketing agent, or whatever, limitations or restrictions will be for that sort of representation. It's going to provide a lot of opportunity for people too to partner with these athletes and help some businesses, I think, too. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be I love it because it's my, like I said, it's my kind of realm. I've been in this realm for a couple of decades now, with sports memorabilia and trading cards and licensing and things like that. So it's really cool. I think Texas is in a fantastic spot to help these athletes build their brand, leverage their brand, educate them, and then they'll be even more ready for the ones who do go on to the NFL, or who make some opportunities, right after college if they don't go to the NFL. Maybe this helps them, kickstart, whatever career they're interested in. So it's going to be really interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Definitely, like I said, don't forget to subscribe, share this out, hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube. If you're checking on the podcast, just listening in, always appreciate it. Definitely don't forget to subscribe, but I would love to know what you guys think about this. How do you think it's going to change things? Do you think it's all positive? Do you not like it? Do you kind of see some positives and negatives of it? Definitely let me know below, and thanks for stopping by. I want to see you next time.